Hey guys, Christopher Green, AMTV, alternative media television, hard hitting and in your face. You're a monkey. Yeah, that's right, you're a monkey. Ooh, 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 ooh. According to the scientists, you know, scientism, the religion of atheists, you're a monkey. Yeah, you're no different from a monkey. You came from an ape. That's what they're telling us. In fact, there's a big story on Drudge Report today. There's a monkey skull that they allegedly found, and they say that that's where we came from. We're all monkeys. We're just a bunch of apes. And also, the scientific community says that we came from nothing. That's right. There was a blob of goo. It's kind of just like this muck of mud. They don't know where it came from. It wasn't alive. It was just kind of this gooey sludge stuff. It exploded randomly. It's magical. It was magic. It exploded and created this vast cellular universe of planets and stars and all of these ecosystems that, by the way, are completely and unarguably intelligently designed. Right? Think about the rain, how the process comes from the ocean, and it cycles into the air, fills the clouds, rains down onto the mountaintop, forms glaciers, erodes the earth, creates rivers, streams. All life just builds upon that. You know, it's interesting, too. I've been watching some things on the internet, and what we still have left, right? That isn't corporate, state-owned media that's been programmed to the top to deceive us from the real truth. You know, there hasn't been a single darn conspiracy that I've ever researched that hasn't become fact. Like Pizzagate, for example. That was taboo. Of course, they wouldn't be doing those horrible things to children. Oh, wait a minute. That's exactly what Jeffrey Epstein was doing. In fact, a report came out today in Peru where they're digging up dead bodies of children, hundreds and hundreds of dead bodies of kids that this ancient civilization sacrificed to the gods. Kind of like the same thing that they're currently doing. These occult, secretive societies, Bohemian Grove, the Illuminati, some people call them, still sacrificing children today. Those were the allegations and parts of the earlier convictions of the Epstein saga, which is why if you've done any research, you'd also know that he's still alive. But back to the scientists, right? The goo exploded and created this intelligent universe. They don't think it's intelligent, but it just came from nothing. In fact, it's such a miracle. It would be like nature, a tornado rolling through like a forest and then building an automobile, right? Just kind of running through as this wild nothingness with no consciousness, just at random, spinning on the alleged ball that is the planet, even though a lot of people think it's flat because they think we have a flat Earth. Get to that in a moment. And then all of a sudden, it created the intricacies and the intelligent design of things like cells. Even when you look at it from a microscopic level, you see a cell has all these moving different parts, proteins synthesizing, mitochondria, all these different elements of a cell, hundreds and hundreds of different elements and protons and neutrons moving away. And if they didn't move around in that very specific form, then life wouldn't exist at all. So the example of a tornado rolling through and then assembling a Boeing 747 randomly in the middle of a forest, as insane as that sounds, that's actually what they've sold the American people. The biggest, arguably, and greatest cover-up in world history. They say you're a monkey because one man, a scientist who followed scientism, named Charles Darwin, who was also a Freemason, said so. In fact, they never explain all these holes in the gap. So let me give you an example. If we evolved from, let's say, goo, and then we turned into fish, how did the fish later develop wings? How did the fish turn into frogs? Even if it was over millions and millions of years. How come there are no fossils of the in-between the fish and the frog? Shouldn't there be like fossils of a fish frog somewhere? Shouldn't we have found like millions and millions of those in the sediment of the earth? The transitionary period, I talked about that yesterday. The transitionary period from a fish to a frog or a fish to a bat How did they develop wings? Where are the fossils? Why are there no fossils? Also, I noticed yesterday, Neil deGrasse Tyson, and I've known this for a while, he was on camera belittling flat earthers. And he suggested, he says this is what science has found now, that the Earth is actually not a sphere. Yeah, that's right. He says it's not a sphere, it's much more like a pear shape.
Not actually a sphere, it's oblate. And officially it's an oblate spheroid. That's what we call it. But not only that, it's slightly wider below the equator than above the equator.
A little chubbier.
A little chubbier.
Yeah.
Chubby's a good way. It's like pear-shaped.
Right? You know what a pear looks like. I probably should have brought one in. It's a pear, he says. This is the scientist, right, who ridicules flat earthers. Well, Neil, if the Earth you've been telling us is a sphere is now a pear, then how come all the doctored, fake, NASA photoshopped images that they allegedly show us from outer space and places like the moon appear to be a sphere and not a pear? Shouldn't be NASA be showing us images of a pear? But they don't. You know, this insanity is absolutely unreal. You want to hear what the latest one is? Supposedly, NASA and the scientists are looking to build a space elevator to the moon. No, I'm not kidding. They've never been back in like 50, 60 years, but they're going to build a space elevator. Not only that, they're going to Mars. They haven't cured cancer. We know that's a lie because they actually have a cure. They just don't want you to know about it. It's called population control. And they haven't solved male pattern baldness. Jeff Bezos, bald as a bat. Bald as a freaking bat. But they're going to go to Mars. In fact, there was a debate with Elon Musk and Jack Ma today. It's been broadcasted, gone viral on the internet. And Elon seems very depressed, once again, talking about how the AI is taking over. And that's why, if you can't beat him, you might as well join the mark of the beast. He's going to give you that microchip through his company Neuralink so you merge it with your brain. It's a lot of interesting things here. I mean, a lot of unexplainable events, things that just don't make sense. Again, is it possible that we've been lied to our entire lives, that everything is a lie, even the basic truths of how the Earth functions? Let me give you another example. You know how they teach you in school while they're programming you and brainwashing you right after you come out of your mom's womb in the ward that makes up the public school system? They tell you about all the different layers of the planet Earth. They say it's a sphere, allegedly. And they say there's multiple layers, like a mantle and then different layers of the planet, all the way to what they call a magma core, right? It's like a volcano down there. It's really red hot. It's what created the poles and all the magnetism of the North and South poles. How do they know that? Because they've never dug more than 8 miles into the Earth. Fact. So it's actually just conjecture. No one's been to the core of the Earth. No one's even gotten past 8 miles. So how do they know what's inside the planet itself? What I know, because again, you probably know tuning in as a critical thinker, is what I see with my own eyes is an incredible, amazing, beautiful, intelligent design. Whether or not it's the beautiful, intelligent design of human consciousness, thought, and self-awareness, or it is the beautiful design and consciousness of nature itself. In fact, if things weren't designed so perfectly and intricately, the way that they currently are, there would be no life. But isn't that the point of the secular religious ideology that makes up Darwinism, evolution, and all these various topics that they don't even allow you to have common discourse on? You know, what they're selling is this. You came from nothing. You are nothing. You're completely insignificant. You're a goo that exploded in an ape in a vast, endless, infinite universe spinning on a freaking ball at a little bit of a tilt with endless stars and other planets and things that we've never even seen before because no one's actually been there. In fact, all independent research of sending balloon satellites up into the sky show what? Flat horizon. The horizon actually rises with the eye of the viewer. You don't have to look down. Why is it that railroads, when they're built, don't account, the engineering blueprints don't account for the alleged curvature of the Earth? If you're building a bridge miles and miles and miles long, let's say in Key West, wouldn't you have to account for the alleged sphere of the Earth? How come airplanes that fly crisscross around the country don't also have to account for aviation changes and altitude changes on the curvature of the Earth? If the Earth is allegedly curved, wouldn't the plane have to go a little bit nose down every several miles that it's flying to compensate? If the Earth is allegedly spinning 1,000+ miles per hour and the average Boeing 747 flies 500 miles per hour, wouldn't the Earth be spinning faster than the plane itself and eventually catch up to it if, let's say, the plane was flying east? You know, when you begin asking these fundamental questions, you'll begin to understand that most of what you get on all the topics I just discussed, and believe me, there's many more, are disinformation campaigns. You want to know the biggest disinformation campaign? The Flat Earth Society. It's controlled opposition by the deep state to make people that even consider these scientific inquiry seem insane. In fact, Barack Obama, very interestingly, because if it was just a conspiracy and wasn't worth thinking about it, I don't know why you'd mention it, wouldn't you just ignore it?
But I don't have much patience for anyone who denies that this challenge is real. We don't have time for a meeting of the Flat Earth Society.
President Obama, during his presidency, mentioned flat Earth multiple times. He would say things like, we don't need to discuss we don't need to have a debate with flat earthers or the Flat Earth Society. You see, he's telling you right to your face that it's a giant cover-up. Again, I said earlier in this video, there's not a single conspiratorial inquiry that I've made in my entire life that hasn't been true. So what, we're just supposed to take NASA's word for it? I tell you what, one thing that NASA's done a great job of is collecting billions and billions of dollars from the American taxpayer slave. And all we got is one alleged moon landing, and we've never been back. But they're going to colonize Mars. That's what they're telling us. So we live in this world where the AI is taking over, and I'm just telling you to look into this stuff, folks. I'm not telling you to believe me. I'm not telling you to believe NASA. I'm telling you to critically think. How much in your life of your current reality do you just take for granted? Well, I don't know. I don't understand that math paradigm. I don't understand that blueprint or engineering, so I'm just not going to think about it and even try. There's someone else that understands this kind of thing. It's like the tax code today. It's so complicated that it reaches a certain point where you're like, well, I don't know, hands off. There's professionals that do this kinds of thing, right? It's not like the IRS would overcharge me or anything like that. See, it makes perfect sense. Confusion is the ally of the deep state. It's why they want your children's minds so early. They want to brainwash them as soon as possible. It's also why public schooling is free, and one of the first things your kid or student, really your inmate, is taught is the alleged spherical Earth. That again, Neil deGrasse Tyson says is more like a pear. He says it's heavier down at the bottom, like a big fat pear. That's what he says. Well, then why aren't all the images that I see allegedly from NASA not the shape of a pear? And all they do, instead of having intellectual scientific debate, right, critical thinking, all they do is belittle and launch their own misinformation campaigns. And they're lauded as the authority. Well, what if the authorities were wrong? What if their agenda was simply to control you, to make you believe that you're insignificant, that there is nothing else out there, and it's just you randomly on this blob of goo that transitions somehow, even though there's no fossils, from goo to a fish in the sea, to gills, to chimpanzees, to... I mean, this is the most ridiculous, idiotic theory I've ever heard in my entire life. Look at the dinosaurs. They tell us something different every single day. How they got here, when they left, how they became extinct. They didn't know before, and then now it's a comet. They don't know anything. Just like Pluto is no longer a planet, even though they said it was a planet not too long ago. They know absolutely nothing. They've dumbed down the American people to such a degree that they can't think for themselves. They're not thinking clearly, and they're not truly understanding their current reality. Again, I'm not saying that I know everything, because I certainly don't. I'm asking you to critically think. I'm asking you to think for yourself. Is the world a sphere? Is it a globe? Do you feel like you're moving on this planet? Because I don't. It seems pretty stationary. When I look at the horizon, it looks flat. In fact, they actually thought the world was flat for thousands of years before they came up with the theory that it was a sphere. So maybe it is flat. Maybe it isn't. Maybe this truly is the Truman Show, and we all live in a dome. Many ancient civilizations thought just that. And not only did these same ancient civilizations sacrifice thousands and millions of children to the gods, it's still being done here in the United States of America, under the authority of secret societies that really rule the world. Jeffrey Epstein, just one example, a convicted pedophile who got away with it. How many more of these scumbags are walking scot-free in Washington, D.C., in the depths of cities and countries all across the flat earth? I'm Christopher Green. Get this video out everywhere. Make it viral, hard-hitting it in your face. And click the link below to support us.